Hello everyone, and welcome to our program Lifestyle Diseases with Dr. Alaisa. I'm Dr. Alaisa Mbiriri. I'm a preventive health and lifestyle medicine specialist. I deal with disease reversal, disease prevention using lifestyle modification. In our program, we are going to look at lifestyle diseases. Today, we are focusing on diabetes. Did you know that about 9% of the people worldwide are suffering from diabetes? Yes, that's a huge number. About 9% of people worldwide are suffering from diabetes. Diabetes, there are different types of diabetes. We have type 1 diabetes, which affects about 5 to 10% of the whole group of people who are diabetic. And we have type 2 diabetes, which affects about 90 to 95% of people who are diabetic. Of course, we have gestational diabetes, which affects some people when they get pregnant, they have diabetes, and also we have juvenile diabetes. But in this program, we are focusing on type 2 diabetes. Type 2 diabetes, it is the type of diabetes which comes primarily because of your lifestyle. You know, genes are not your destiny. There are some people who may say, no, diabetes runs in our family. My mother was diabetic, my aunt was diabetic, my great-grandmother was diabetic. Do you know what runs mainly in your family? It is the lifestyle which runs in your family. If you are in a family whereby what you eat, what you consume, what you're physically active or not, those are traditions which are then passed down throughout the family. And because of this lifestyle, we then have type 2 diabetes. Type 2 diabetes is mainly related to what you eat, or mainly related to what we can call the Western diet, a diet which is high in fat, high in sugar, a diet which is less fiber. It is also linked to a sedentary lifestyle. You agree with me that people who have type 2 diabetes do not get type 2 diabetes in their infancy. It's only type 1 diabetes. Type 2 diabetes, people get type 2 diabetes. Previously, it used to be like around the age of 40. But now, because of globalization, urbanization, we have people who get type 2 diabetes even in their 20s, which is quite sad. So type 2 diabetes, what causes type 2 diabetes? Is it about insulin? Is it shortage of insulin? Is it about eating a high sugar diet? Is it eating fat? Like I've said, it is linked to a diet which is high in fat. This is what happens when you eat your food. You eat your carbohydrates, you eat your bread, you eat your potato, you eat your rice, you eat your salsa. It is broken down to glucose. Glucose is the fuel of our bodies. It is the fuel that we use to move. It is the fuel that you use to talk, you use to think. So you get glucose from your carbohydrate foods. When you get glucose into your blood, glucose is supposed to move out your blood and get into your cells. How much of this, when glucose is supposed to move out of your body, out of your blood and get into your cells, this is done with the help of insulin. Insulin is a hormone which is produced by our pancreas. All of us, we have a pancreas. For someone who has type 1 diabetes, they may have challenges with their insulin production. This is found maybe when they are still very young. But for someone with type 2 diabetes, insulin is not the problem. But what is the problem? The problem is you have your insulin released after you've eaten, but it cannot open the avenue where glucose is supposed to enter. When glucose is leaving your bloodstream to get into your cells, insulin acts like a key. You see, on a door, you have your keyhole where you put your key and you turn your key this way to open your door. So insulin is like that key which goes onto your cell receptor site. It opens the door for glucose to leave the blood and get into your cells. But then what then happens? If you have a lot of fat, extra fat, excessive fat, it blocks the receptor site. So now, when insulin wants to attach to that receptor site to open the door for glucose, it cannot attach. It is blocked by fat. The area is blocked by fat. So this means that you have excessive glucose in your circulation. You have excessive glucose in your blood. So what are the signs and symptoms of diabetes mellitus? Number one, some people have excessive thirst, excessive appetite, excessive urination. These may be signs and symptoms of diabetes mellitus type 2. You may also have unexplained weight loss. Unfortunately, diabetes can lead to complications. It can lead to eye damage, kidney damage. Sometimes it causes complications with the heart. Did you know that a person who's diabetic is about 2 to 4 times of having a heart attack? It can also cause sexual impotence in men. It may cause ulcerative sores which may not heal, amputations, different complications that come with diabetes. So for you to prevent these complications, you better manage your diabetes. You better reverse your diabetes. Yes, it's possible to reverse your diabetes. How do you do that? You only do that by modifying your lifestyle. Given the reasons that I've given you on how insulin fails to attach, it's primarily based on your diet. So number one, what you need to correct is to remove or to reduce your saturated fat, reduce your sugar in your diet. What are your sources of your saturated fat? Your sources of your saturated fat come from animal sources. This is your meat, this is your milk, your cheese, your eggs. These are the main culprits of saturated fat and cholesterol. So you need to reduce them. Someone will ask me, is that possible? Yes, it's possible. You can start with a meatless Monday. You can start with one day in a week where you're not eating meat. You can start in a day where you're not eating eggs. Maybe your breakfast, even if you have every day breakfast with eggs, you can start by reducing that. If your dishes are loaded with cheese, you can reduce the cheese. You have some dishes without cheese. So yes, you should make healthy choices. So being deliberate and intentional in cutting down saturated fat in our diet. Number two, on our diet, we need to increase fiber. Fiber is important in regulating the way glucose is released into your bloodstream. During digestion or after digestion, glucose it leaves your digestive system into the blood. Glucose regulates that release. Without fiber, you get a sudden increase in glucose in your blood, and when your body picks that, it will result in a sudden decline. For example, there are some people, when you eat maybe a bowl of porridge, there are some people who after a few minutes or after an hour they become dizzy, or you just feeling not too well. This mainly happens when there is a sudden increase in glucose and a sudden decline in glucose, which occurs because of less fiber in that food. So fiber regulates the release of your glucose. What are our sources of our fiber? Our sources of our fiber are our whole grains, our fruits, our vegetables. So what it means is when you are eating your whole grains, they should be less processed as possible. Eating your whole foods as much as possible, foods which are close to nature as much as possible. When you are eating your maize, it's better to eat your maize as a maize cob. If you're going to use it to make salsa, make it a straight run without removing the fiber. If you're eating your millet, your sorghum, your rapoko, do you know that you can eat your sorghum just like the way you eat rice? You just boil it and you eat it with your relish the way you eat your rice. So, this fiber, it is important for someone who wants to manage their sugar levels, for someone who wants to reverse your diabetes. So when you're eating things like your cucumbers, you're eating your potatoes, you're eating your butternut, these things you can eat with their skin. When you boil your sweet potato, you can eat it with the skin. So these things, they are high in fiber. We are used maybe to a Western breakfast where I have a bowl of cereal, I have my egg, I have my sausage, I have all those things. Someone who is having a breakfast with sweet potato is way better in terms of fiber than someone who's eating a breakfast of cereal, a processed cereal from the shop, a processed, maybe this cereal would be your cornflakes. A bowl of cornflakes, a standard bowl of cornflakes may have about 0.4 grams of fiber, which is bad for you if you're diabetic. So eating your sweet potato, breakfast with sweet potatoes, breakfast with yams, breakfast with homemade bread from wheat, from whole wheat, it is a much higher fiber than if you're eating breakfast with processed foods. So make your choices when you're looking for foods to eat. When it comes to fruits and vegetables, we recommend that you eat about 5 to 9 servings of vegetables in a day. What is a serving of vegetable? A serving of vegetable is 1 cup, which is raw, that's 1 serving, or if it's cooked, it's half cup. So you need 5 to 9 servings of vegetables in a day. This means you are going to spread your vegetables throughout your meals. Your breakfast, you need to have some savings of vegetables, your lunch and your dinner. This will help in preventing the problem with snacking. You know, there are people who are diabetic who think that they have to be eating every now and again. Of course, we said one of the symptoms of being diabetic is excessive appetite, and you need to eat frequently. That is wrong. Avoid snacking. You only avoid snacking if you have a high fiber food. A high fiber food will make you full for longer, and you will avoid snacking. Snacking makes you be in a state of hyperglycemia throughout. Hyperglycemia is when your sugar levels are high. So snacking, eating throughout the day, nibbling on things throughout the day will result in having your sugars will not be controlled easily. So a high fiber diet, it is crucial for someone who's diabetic. Eat foods which are close to nature as much as possible. Avoid processed foods or reduce your intake of processed foods. If you have, maybe for example, if you have white rice, this is something that you can do. In the shops, you can buy wheat bran. You get your wheat bran, you add it to your rice when you're cooking it. You have your mealie meal, you can get your wheat bran, you add it to this is how you can add your fiber in your food. You add your fiber by eating whole foods. You can buy wheat bran, which is sold. You add it to your grains. For your fruits, of course, you need to manage the amount of fruit that you are eating as someone who's diabetic. But make sure that you're eating whole fruits. Taking fruit juice, it may not be good for someone who's diabetic because there is less fiber in fruit juice compared to a whole fruit. So you eat a whole fruit because it has the fiber. Fruit juice is already processed. So diabetic, for me to have enough fiber, I need to get to eat a fruit in its state like as a whole fruit. Now we move on to weight management. We look at body mass index. Body mass index is your weight in comparison with your height. How do you get body mass index? You take your weight divided by your height squared. If you are 80 kgs, this is your weight in kgs and your height in meters. So if you are 80 kgs, you are taking 80 kgs divided by your height. Let's say your height is 1.65. So it's 80 divided by 1.65 times 1.65. And you get the value. Your normal body mass index should be between 18.5 to 24.9. Any body mass index below 18.5, it means you are underweight. That one is also not good. And your body mass index, which is 25 to 29.9, it's overweight. From 30 and above, that's obesity. Obesity is different classes. We have class 1 obesity, 30 to 34.9, class 2, 35 to 39.9, and class 3 above 40. Someone who has class 3 obesity may require surgery. You may need bariatric surgery surgeries to help you to remove excess fat which is in you and to turn your stomach, to invert your stomach. and you may need certain medications to manage your fat. But generally what you need is to exercise and to reduce the calories that you are taking in. When you are talking about weight management, we are looking at, there are two main things: your energy intake and your energy expenditure. If your energy intake is more than your energy expenditure, you will have excess weight. But what we need with someone who's diabetic is your energy expenditure should be more than your energy intake. So you look at the calories of food that you are taking in and the amount of exercise that you are doing. Ideally, we recommend 30 minutes of exercise in a day, or 150 minutes of exercise per week, because we are looking at an average of exercising 5 times in a week. So you may not have the whole 30 minutes to exercise. You may say, no, where do I get 30 minutes to exercise? There's so many things to do. You can break your exercise into blocks. You can have 10-minute exercise in the morning, 10 minutes in the afternoon, or 10 in the evening, depending on your time availability. So you break down your exercise. It is important that you ensure that you are moving. Movement is important for someone who's diabetic. Having a sedentary lifestyle wherein you're just going out of the house, you get into your car, you go to work, sit on your desk the whole day, go into your car, go back home, sit on the sofa, watch TV, go to bed. That is disastrous for someone who's diabetic. You need to be active, you need to move. And actually they say sitting is the new smoking. The dangers of sitting are almost the same as those of someone who's smoking. So it is important that we exercise. It is important that we are physically active. Of course, yes, we have so many gadgets in our homes that help us to do our work efficiently and not to make us sweat that much. But there are times that you may need to be engaged in physical activity. Go for gardening. If you have space on your house, around your house, you have a small garden. If you can do all these things to increase your physical activity. So you're reducing your weight by increasing your physical activity, decreasing your calories. So what are some of the things that are that have high calories? Your things with your sugar. Your sugary foods, they have lots of calories. So cutting down on sugary foods. There's one thing also about sugar. Sugar also affects your immune system. Sugar lowers your immune system. Did you know taking a can of a soft drink or a bottle of soft drink, any soft drink of your choice, it is about 8 to 12 spoons of sugar. Yes, it is 8 to 12 spoons of sugar. Sometimes you don't even feel those spoons of sugar in that soft drink because of the other chemicals that are inside it. What does that 8 to 12 spoons of sugar do to you? They suppress your immune system by 60% for 5 hours. After taking a soft drink, you should know this. You have reduced your immune system by 60%. For example, your immune system, let's say these are your soldiers in your body. These are soldiers which are there to fight viruses. These are soldiers that fight coronavirus, that fight HIV, that fight TB. If you, after taking a soft drink, if you had 10 soldiers, 6 of them are going to faint for 5 hours and you will have 4 active. So effectively, when you are taking a soft drink, let me tell you what you're doing. You're not quenching your thirst. You are just suppressing your immune system. So if for someone now who is diabetic, who sometimes have recurrent infections, you are further suppressing your immune system by taking sugary foods. So avoid or eliminate sugary foods in your diet if you're diabetic. It is also good that we monitor our stress levels. It is important. Do you know that stress is not only linked to hypertension? Stress is also linked to how your body processes its glucose. So it is important that you manage your stress. Yes, there are so many things that are stressing us, so many things, so many depressing things around the world. But for your good, be able to manage your stress. And if you are a Christian, maybe you are a Christian or maybe you're not. If you are a Christian, we know the Bible tells us that we need to trust the Lord and acknowledge Him in all the things that we do. Let's trust the Lord with our lives. He brings healing and He can control all the matters that are affecting us. Be blessed, and let's disarm diabetes together. Thank you.